welcome to those who made it. Apologies and reasons for absence.
Councillor Collins got a chest infection.
We're happy that reason accepted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does anybody have any interests peculiarly or other than pecuniary?
No.
Conduct? No, thank you. So no applications for dispensations. Reminder to everyone that the meeting's being recorded, and if it all works, it will go on the YouTube channel. Right, we'll now adjourn the meeting for the public session.
Here's the public
We have a
session.
member of the public. Is there anything that you would like to say or ask or talk to us about?
Nothing from the agenda apart from having to declare to yourself and others that
Yeah.
apart from being a volunteer with Carmen, which you
Well,
also intend to stand as a candidate for Borough Councillor. So my name's Simon, surname's Honour with me.
Simon, I should have introduced for courtesy. This is
We're acquainted.
Burgess, you know.
You know him. We know him.
Okay.
Sorry, Andy.
Right, okay, you're only about 30 seconds late. Good.
Hello, Alan.
Hi.
Good evening,
Alan. We're more than super qualified now. I think then, just to ask you, because of your position on CARB, Simon, and we have the benefit of you being here, that you will know then more than I do, but you'll know from your side all about the idea of trying to build on the very useful work that you've been doing in Wittersham with your 2 Thursdays a month, and the idea of filling in the other 3 with other occasions so that it becomes a weekly affair, which you would do too.
Yes.
And as I understand it, maybe also through that mechanism broadening your appeal slightly wider from the number that come to you already, but that's what I'm not that familiar with.
Okay. Well, since you asked the question, I agree, and I think ideally it would be nice for the meetings to be available on a weekly basis. I think from a practical point of view, I mean, I've volunteered both in Wittersham and in Appledore. We've had a change of situations in Appledore where I've been the sole volunteer for some time, helped out by sort of permanent CARM staff. Yes, I agree. It'd be nice to expand it. I think one of the challenges we have is to ensure that we have sufficient volunteers coming through, that people are aware they can help. I think you've got some excellent volunteers in Wittersham. I'm not counting myself in that. I'm saying for the people I work with. So Wittersham's well set up for that. So yes, I think it's a great idea.
Good. Well, the first one to try out the fill-ins will be this coming Thursday, 2 days' time, which Yvonne is organising.
Very good.
And Leslie.
And Leslie, yes.
Very good.
And then the 4th one will be the lady who earlier on, she's retired now but used to be the vicar here, and her friend who will do a 4th one. And then of course it just depends if there's a 5th one, which is only some months, 2 or 3 times a year, then the Women's Institute is saying that they can fill that one, yes?
Oh.
Okay.
Could I just ask a quick question, Simon, as you're here? I'm afraid I know very little about CARM. I know a few bits and pieces, but could you just give us a...
What is it?
Well, yes, I think I know what it is, but given the fact we're trying to support it, everyone else might be well up to speed, but if we have to sort of pass on to members of the public and other people in the village, it'd be good to get a sort of very brief
pencil sketch
synopsis. Yeah.
Quickly. CARM stands for Caring Altogether in Romney Marsh, but it extends to this area as well.
Right.
It was a charity set up quite some time ago. It is now well established. It does cover the Romney Marsh area and up into sort of our area as well, our Oxon as well. It provides various services. The meeting points are probably the most visible ones, and they're occurring generally fortnightly, but sometimes weekly. And again, to increase frequency sounds like a great idea. They also do other things like more one-to-one assistance. Particularly, we have 1 or 2 retired GPs who help people with dementia. They'll go to their homes and give them more particular help. I don't do that. I'm just aware that it happens. So it's not just meeting points. If people find it difficult to get to a particular meeting point, volunteers will generally offer to pick them up and then take them back afterwards. So we're trying to help people to come for as much as they want to, for as long as they want to.
That's great, thank you.
Right, thank you. Does anyone else want to ask Simon things or discuss anything on that? Otherwise, we'll close the public session.
Yeah, I mean, just very briefly,
Please.
I assume that the one that's being held on Thursday, I mean, it's a general invitation to the village.
Indeed.
It's not necessarily people with
Sure.
concerns.
I put it out on next door and I should have a reminder of when to put it out.
Is it working out?
It's going as a come and meet your friends for coffee.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what
Yeah.
I put it as because it's what it
That's
used
yours
to
on
be.
Thursday, isn't it?
Sorry?
That's yours on Thursday.
No, this is
No.
on our, before the pandemic,
Yeah.
when we had the community market, there was coffee in here afterwards. That
Yes.
was every Tuesday.
Yes.
And you've got lots of people came and they met each
Yes.
other, people from
Yes.
Stone came and it
Yes.
was all a lovely, because that's when I had my parish desk. So I just thought it would be nice if we brought that sort of thing back. And as Simon said, on the 1st and the 3rd, can't already do a coffee for people to come and join. So I thought we filled in the other Thursdays, then we're back to a weekly coffee, come and meet your friends. So that's the way that the other 2 or 3 Thursdays will be.
And in principle,
Vision meeting is sometimes soon as well, isn't it?
17th.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
so in principle, the one that Yvonne is doing and those Thursdays that interleave are explicitly, if the idea gels as we hope, it will be for anyone who wants to come in the way that it used to be before. So, for instance, the British Legion gang used to be very regular every Tuesday, and there were a group of women who used to have a table generally together, always up there, and what have you. Now, if that begins to gel again, then ideally, and I think this is where the two coming together are quite handy, and doing it all on Thursdays, the two can begin to spill over, so that the people who come to the calm one, ignoring for a moment or leaving aside the special help for access, for travel, they might come to the others, so they get out, more than twice a month, they might get out 3 or 4 times a month. And equally, the people who come to the ones that Yvonne and Leslie and Judy and whatever, Jean do, they might spill over to increase the numbers for calm, which is it's a problem in the sense they've got to cope with them, but on the other hand, it's good that you get more people, because I've been a couple of times earlier on, and I think on those occasions it was probably about 6-8 people, and perhaps you've grown since then, because COVID's further in the background now, but obviously with the effort you put in, it would be nice to have more people.
Yes.
Right, okay, so shall I close the public session? Yep. Okay, we'll go on with our agenda then. You're very welcome to stay, as I'm sure you know, Simon, but you can't take part.
Jeremy, I just realised I've left something in the top oven. And it's
Top oven.
That's old chestnut.
We'll adjourn down the road.
And as long as
you
it's
can say.
quiet, and if I don't go and do something, it's going to be dust. So I'm going to have to
You're
nip
going
out.
to really sorry.
I'll be right back.
Sue, can you do the dessert tonight?
We'll probably have a pound cat in a minute anyway, so...
We haven't had one today.
Margaret turned it on.
Was at Cranbrook tonight. I know that with my sister.
Right, okay.
Is
Don't
it,
get my homework, John.
if this goes live,
Calm down.
the cakes.
if this
Calm
goes
down.
live, it's going to be interesting what the village says.
Yeah, calm down. Let's get on.
Testing.
Let's talk about the minutes of the last meeting on the 13th of December.
Yeah.
They went out by Yvonne the other day. Thank you very much to Paul for doing the underlying notes of that. Is everyone happy with them?
Yes, thank
Can
you.
I sign them as correct record then?
Yes, you may.
Good. Matters arising. The only one I noticed was the 8080 PROW, which we asked if Yvonne would write to the landowner, but I think you only got that in the note in the last day or two, so that's something that will be an ongoing matter arising, as it were. And secondly, the personal training session on Coronation Field, did you meet?
Yes, I have met with John. He's very keen to do this. It's It appears to be a weight thing.
Oh.
He's been taking part, he's fully trained. He's been taking part with the Woodchurch, they've got a Woodchurch run and he's very friendly with the person there. And it's sort of a half an hour thing. And he's talking about doing it on a Sunday morning at 8 o'clock.
At 8 o'clock?
8 o'clock.
It's not daylight.
It's like a circuit type
Yeah.
thing. You do a few minutes here and a few minutes there, and you
Take
repeat
afternoons.
that sort of thing. So, and I explained, we went through it, the insurance is covered. Memorandum of understanding, I think we thought we were going with, and so I need to tell him what, it mustn't upset anyone else, but once again, at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning, I shouldn't think there's too many there. I explained about the dog walkers, it's not dog poo free, all that sort of thing, so we did go through it. So he's now going to,
And he's going to give you a copy of his insurance.
yes.
Good.
Is
Where
there
is
an
he
age
going to do
group,
it?
do you know?
Well, anyone who wants to, basically, so you're very welcome, I'm
If it
sure.
wasn't 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning, that'd be interesting.
Where's he going to do it?
You could make
Well,
the
it
wrong
depends
visit.
what's free.
He
It
could make
depends
the
on the
wrong visit.
weather. If it's
What for breakfast?
the ground's not good, then it's a yellow tarmac area,
Oh.
down by the half mugger.
Right.
But if there are children there, then he will move somewhere else. So it doesn't need to be in a certain place.
The
No.
east side was suggested.
Sorry?
The east side of the coronation field was suggested, especially at 8 o'clock.
Making a lot of
With a bullhorn. Right. Okay, good. So, that would be, if it takes off for certain people, and of course there's a huge variety in Wittersham, it's easy for us to think, oh, well, who's going to do that? But there will be all sorts.
Certainly young mums,
Yeah.
they've got, husbands, they're looking after the children.
The young
Other
mums got woken
halves.
up at 6 anyway.
Yes, so
Interesting.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Okay, correspondence, the Count Community Awards Scheme 2023.
yes, it's exactly the same as we've had before, form to.
So you're going to put that on?
So as before, before the pandemic, we put out in the Outlook as to anybody
Yeah.
who's
Yeah.
got a suggestion.
Yeah.
That's
So you
what
do
we've
that, yeah?
done before.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. The second one is the phone call from residents concerning the planning application at Green Acres in Rose Hill. You can tell us about that because you got the call.
Yes, I had a call from one of the residents nearby asking for, well, obviously not happy with it because it's a narrow lane and it's on a nasty bend and it didn't seem to make sense. And there are quite a few, there are more people in Wittersham that have been consulted because of the closest rather than the people in Stone. Nobody really in Stone is that close to it. So they were asking really for the support of the parish council to object to it. But I explained that we're not consultees, so we can't do it as a parish council, as a statutory consultee. On the other hand, I felt perhaps we could mention their concerns to Stone Parish Council as well as perhaps to Ashford, but obviously it's up to you how you think. If I did so, I would put it on the agenda for you to have a think.
I think when Yvonne first spoke to me about this, I said, well, obviously, firstly, it's not in our parish, so we are not the statutory consultee. But on the other hand, that doesn't stop us, as anybody can, putting a comment on the Ashford site. We ought to bear in mind that we shouldn't be treading on Stone's toes, and for all we know, for instance, let's say we said we didn't think much to it, Stone might actually be very keen to have it. I think it's a good idea. And it would be unreasonable for us to be trying to oppose them when it's in their area rather than ours, in their parish. On the other hand, we do have our own residents to take account of. And I can see an approach, if councillors are happy with this, where Yvonne comments on the application on the Ashford site to say a number of the people that have been consulted by Ashford and others have notified us of their concerns. It's not our affair because it's not in Wittersham, but we felt that we should let Ashford know that we have had that approach and copy that to stone. That's out of courtesy. I don't think there's very much else we should say sensibly. My own view, I'd be interested in what other councillors think that have looked at it. My own view is that since it is an existing building in agricultural use, where there's a whole load of policies apply that I'm not claiming to have gone and studied, but I know that they do get special terms, as it were, and that it's doing the least violence to the building as it exists. It's really saying, okay, we've got this long block, so we'll chop it into three and call it 3 houses, and we'll put the I presume build the houses almost inside the shed, because the shed's presumably just sort of, you know, aluminium corrugate or something, you know, it's not very kind of fully insulated and all the rest of it, and a nice concrete floor and everything. But if they put it inside and they make it look not hugely different apart from putting windows in, my feeling is, and that's all it is, my feeling is that it's very likely to go through, unless there's a concern about highways, and we know that highways are not hugely concerned about those issues.
They've already said on it.
Well, they're already said it's okay,
Is
right?
it holiday accommodation?
It's housing.
It's housing.
Residential.
It's residential. The highways thing, I can understand why they're not that concerned, because basically agricultural vehicles are much bigger than cars, and therefore arguably the reduction of agricultural vehicles on a narrow lane replaced by some cars is not
And
necessarily.
it's an existing entrance off the road.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a big
I think the other thing we could do, which I think we discussed at the last meeting, was just steer our residents towards their right
Yes.
to comment
Yes.
on,
Yes,
on the
that,
site.
that was the issue.
And that's all we can do. And I think we do have to be careful not to
Yeah.
tread on stones' toes, because they might have a wish within stone that they actually want some additional residential.
You can quite understand if they thought the 3 houses would
It's
suit
quite
them.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, it's not agricultural. It was
Oh,
like a
that's
small.
fashion,
It was
wasn't
yes, it was a fashion. They
Okay.
made underwear, basically,
Right.
Of course.
and so there were delivery lorries coming and going,
Mhm.
but not exactly farm equipment.
Yeah, sure.
But obviously it's next to the grain store, which does have all the big
Yeah.
tractors going through. So that corner is
And
used.
it was agriculture, of course,
It
before
was
it
chicken
went to...
sheds
before
before it
it went
became
to
fashion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just as a point of information, nothing to do with this really, do you know who that land belongs to where the grain store is?
The farm?
Yes.
No,
Used to be,
no.
there used to be a combination of about 3 farms.
Yes.
I think they all come under certain Mr. Piper now.
Oh, it's Piper, is it?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Entirely possible. It's in his area.
So we agreed then we will write.
If everyone's happy with that,
Yes,
Yes.
I'm happy.
Yeah, happy.
Could I make a comment there,
please do.
If anyone did study this particular application, which was to Stone, and you read the comments of the people, of the officer, it said that Stone didn't object. But if you read the actual comments that they made at the time of this thing here, they did object, they just misread it.
Well, I thought as I read it, Stone's comments were they couldn't comment on it until further
That's it,
information
yeah.
was received. And this, I presume, is the further, basically the further information.
Yeah, but that's a year later, isn't it?
Yes.
2 years later.
Yeah.
Getting on for
Yeah, so they didn't exactly
No.
object, they just wanted further information.
Well, that's right, yeah, so they did not agree to it.
No,
No,
they
I suppose the
didn't.
impression
They
is
wanted-
given there.
yeah.
It was,
That's the left.
exaggerated. They did, it
Words
was...
were twisted.
a sort of-
Yes, yes, twisted the words.
Yes, fair point.
So we're clear then, are we? We'll
Oh, yeah,
I
respond
think that
on behalf of our residents.
Yeah.
Right,
Just
that's
until
fine.
you start jumping down Stone's throats, I really wanted it.
Well, we're not going to do that.
No, I'm not getting involved.
Fire engines.
Is it still all right?
Crisis averted, but there is a new crisis.
Oh,
In the car park here, there are some knee-deep puddles,
oh, you went in one.
and it's dark when you go to your car, and I've just been up knee-deep in it. I just wondered, that could be a job for Alf at some point.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Well, the lighting system
It's
is
down.
working.
Well, I discovered
Security
that,
lighting,
and that's
yes.
why I got too very wet.
Okay.
Right, okay.
Right.
Sorry about your feet, Alan. We're on to item 6.
Really already?
Already.
Yeah.
Payments for authorisation, the clerk's expenses.
Yep.
You've all had it.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Everyone satisfied
Just
with that?
one comment, the stamps, that was for when I had more planning applications that weren't in the village, so I had to send them out, so that's the reason for.
Yvonne, we know it was your Christmas card.
We'll write on it.
That's
Okay.
right, I'm not that ahead of myself, unfortunately.
It wasn't the wine this time.
So we're all happy with the expenses?
Yes, thank you.
Working party reports, caretaker?
Yes, we have received £550 towards the scheme from Penardington and Warehall,
Oh,
and which has gone up £50 each. They gave us £500 before.
Much appreciated
So,
in both cases.
They've stopped mooning, have they?
Sorry?
They've stopped mooning.
No, that's not Stoke. No, Stoke.
That's not
Wrong
Carnarvon.
village,
They're still mooning.
Or Warehall.
Yeah.
Oh, mowing.
Mooing or mooning.
I have had from Robert Pudan, it will be putting his prices up. So last time, gang mowing of Poplar Farm Field, which is the Woodland View,
Yeah.
you know, the registered village green area, will go from £55 to 60, and the gang mowing of Coronation Field will go from 35 to 40, and the churchyard from 130 to 140, which I thought was under the circumstances.
Yeah.
I don't think that,
Yeah.
yes, that's not large increases. That's fine.
Okay.
We're happy.
Good. Finance, the monthly transaction statement you've all had.
Yes.
You may have picked up from it that when it comes to the Lloyds Bank one and the workplace pension from Nest, there's no reconciliation bit against it because I haven't had a bank statement. So as far as my records are concerned, when I look, because I get an acknowledgement back from Nest to say that direct debit will be taken,
oh, yes.
but that was the 20th, so really, looking at the dates,
Yeah.
it probably went on the 24th, but if you take Christmas, I've gone for the 28th. So I'm pretty sure it will be in.
Yeah, just
But
not.
I can't do a bank reconciliation through Scribe because I haven't got the dates to
No.
put it in.
No.
This is the Lloyd's one, is it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, you look at just at the top. Yeah, I always put an R if I've reconciled, but I can't because I haven't got it.
If you just make a note then to
So that's
whoever
just.
reviews
So
it.
that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
That's why I believe it is, but I can't prove it.
Okay.
Basically.
Who's signing it?
Well, I can't do it yet.
No, you can't.
No, it will be your turn, but
Yeah.
I can't do it
Right.
until I've got the.
Okay.
So
Yeah, as long as I know them. Yeah.
it'll be the quarterly one, but yeah.
It's annoying because we've left the workplace pension direct debit against Lloyds in order to stimulate them to send a statement, because otherwise
Yeah.
they say there was no transaction.
Yeah.
This is kind of just a savings, if you like, but that's where we are. Okay, it happened once before, and we waited till the next month and then we got one.
Yes, but I should have had one because
No, I
I
understand.
Yes.
maintain
Because
that,
there's-
as far as I'm concerned, that is in, whereas the other one
That's why it's
did
there.
go into the other month.
Indeed.
That's
Indeed.
okay.
You're right. Now, the caretakers, of course, are just a subset of
Yeah.
those, that's the same ones. Is everyone happy that I
Can I just
signed
ask
them?
a question? Is the fact that Lloyds Bank and their vehicle visit Rye every other Wednesday morning any help to you?
No, because I leave the walk on a Wednesday morning.
Yes. Don't know what times they're
Yeah.
there. So will it otherwise be any help to you?
Well, not really, because I'm able to bank any checks,
At the post office.
anything I bank
Oh,
at Jameson's, you know, either one,
Yeah.
so I do it when
Yeah.
I'm
There
going
wouldn't be
shopping.
any help anyway.
So,
no.
no, not really.
Thought I'd
I mean,
ask.
I'm aware of it,
And
Yes.
routine banking is all being done with UTB now.
Of course.
Yeah.
although these checks will go into Lloyd's,
Indeed,
Yeah.
absolutely.
because once again it helps with the
Sure, no, I
Yeah.
understand.
amounts
That's
within.
So I can sign these then? Yes. I can sign these then?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Right. Okay.
I say nothing.
Planning, the...
No,
No?
sorry, no budget.
Oh, three quarterly budget
Yes,
statement.
I obviously haven't been able to do that because that comes via Scribe, and I haven't got Lloyd's into Scribe yet, so I haven't been able to produce that, so we'll have to defer that till the next meeting.
Yes, fine.
So just to understand the system here, it's when the Lloyds Bank statement comes in that you enter that in Scribe, because that gives you a paper record to do.
Yeah,
Well, you haven't it there for your own.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
understand.
Straightforward.
Right, fair enough. Planning decisions received, 2 for Stocks Mill House, listed building consent, and the proposed ancillary outdoor room.
And we've also had the quarter house in, the routing of the cable to the garage for the electric charging point. This is one that I wasn't informed at, and each time I just have to go in and check and see whether they've been granted or still outstanding. And I found out that it had been granted on the 8th of December.
Can you ask Peter to switch the power to the rest of the village to get over these power cuts, because he's clearly generating.
Probably.
I think this is to charge his car, I think.
No, I think he's only just been granted. I was thinking it's in there. What I would like just to mention is that while I was doing that, I went into all the ones that are outstanding at the moment, just to see what's going on. And I found that the barn in the field at the rear of 22 Lloyd's Green, the bit where they wanted to convert, and is still outstanding. That goes back to 21, I think it is, when that went in. There is, in December, there's been a letter from the agent with a form notifying the ABC as landowner of the track. Because if you're putting an application in, you have to notify. I'm presuming that has come up because of the sale of the land. Because if you remember the planning application, the amended plans that came in for the land adjacent to 16 Lloyd's Green showed it as tarmacked.
Yeah.
So I think this has brought up, has it been, we're presuming that it's been sold to the developer if he's going to tarmac it.
But it wasn't
But there's
shown
no,
in the plan.
no, there's nothing, so this would indicate that ABC still own that track because they're now notifying them of it. So that was just a point of interest, really.
They do own some houses down that track still.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The back shelf, yeah.
And also, yes, the new information that's come from saying that it's going to be tarmacked, that track, now on the land adjacent to 16 Lloyd's Green, that site has now got a letter from the Public Rights of Way team saying now that that's going to be tarmacked, they're not objecting to the application.
Oh, that's curious because we thought that made it worse.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we've all said now you're going to get vehicles racing up and down when you've got pedestrians, but no, apparently it's not a problem
I
anymore.
think it's a right of way, not a right of safety.
Yeah.
Effectively.
But Southern Water have come back to say
Yes.
it doesn't change their views,
Yeah.
so they're still objective.
As far as Southern Water's concerned, just a little side issue, when the Southern Water technician came to inspect the pumping station in my front garden a couple of weeks ago, he asked me, he looked at his phone and he asked me where another one was and couldn't remember the name. He came up with something a bit scrambled and eventually it turned out to be the Lloyd's Green pumping station, which was the next on his schedule. So I had to explain to him how to find it. And I sent him up Lloyd's Green to the Hammerhead, park where he could, and then walk between the two houses in the corner and find it. And when you get there and look at the small patch of grass, I said, there are 2 houses that have been applied for to build on it, 1 a 5-bedroom. And when you see how impossible that is, and Southern Water are aware of it, I suggest you go back and talk to your supervisors and say, hey, you know, because this is the people who actually do have to come along and fix the pumping station. This is obviously ridiculous, and try and get the planners, but their planning team to recognise how bad it is. Just to, now whether we will, I don't know, but I've given it a shot. I did think also that I might ring up the lady who regularly rings me up and makes appointments for our pumping station, which is private pumping stations as they used to be called, see if she deals with the others as well, or whether she knows who
Yeah.
it is through the phone book, because she can have a go as well. I just thought of that today, but I haven't done it yet. It was after close.
They are objecting anyway.
Yes.
Good
Um,
move.
And the other one, Willow Tree Barn, remember down Pastoral
Yeah.
Court Road, where they want to change the barn make it into offices.
Yeah.
Amended plans have come in for that, and there's further information after the highways replied that they weren't happy with the visibility display because it was coming out onto a
Yeah.
60-mile-an-hour road. So they've now changed the visibility display. Highways are happy with that. And also the turning area for the refuse collector needed to be made bigger because of the length from the road down to the offices, they needed to be able to turn around, so they've done that. And because of the length of it, they've had to put in passing places as well for vehicles.
On the little internal lane.
Yes.
Sorry, where was this again?
Willow Tree Barn,
Boundary barn.
down on the left-hand side.
The one that wanted to build a house and then decided to do offices instead.
Pastoral Court?
Yes.
Yeah, down
Yeah.
there.
On the left-hand
So
side.
the one that's been tapping into the water supply
Yeah.
and built the teepees and the holiday camp. Okay.
Anyone has to guess the intention is to get the office and use it for a year or 3 and then reapply for change of use.
There is that fear. There is that fear. And presumably these passing places are in case the refuse vehicle needs itself coming back the other way.
But it won't be big enough for that. Passing place.
Boiler in this area.
It can pass a bike.
Can I ask,
Riveting
what
stuff.
view does the planning authority take of that? So there's there's been a full application turned down on appeal twice, and then if they did successfully get office use down there, what would the planning team think in a year or 5's time about a reapplication for residential?
Well, it always has to be taken as what it is at the time. But if you just go back to what you were talking about just now, 3 industrial units being suggested turned into dwellings in stone, you've got a similar situation. It doesn't matter how long they've been there.
It doesn't matter.
How long they've been there, really.
So that's no consequence.
No. I mean, within reason. I mean, you can't build a barn, then slap in a planning application, it's converted to a house the next day, like, you know.
So you
Because
presumably
you've got
have
to
to,
prove that there's no use for it.
so you probably have to display or show that you'd had appropriate use for a while and then
Oh,
it's
yes,
become
yeah.
redundant.
And the reason why there isn't any more use.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you've got to, you know, there's a bit like people anywhere. I mean, you take the top garage years back when they wanted to build houses on there. They couldn't sort of say, well, no, it doesn't matter, we're not going to employ anybody anymore. And we made it stick, and it did matter, you know. Even though they tried to get away with the garden shed to do MOTs in.
Yep.
If I remember right. I mean, we're going back a year, so I know. But it's the same principle, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
Yes,
Okay.
I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah. They're trying hard.
Okay. Right. Open spaces. We've already heard about the keep fit and the field. Anything else there?
Apart from the fact that everywhere is just
Underwater.
knee-deep, it's horrendous.
Okay.
So all the open spaces have look just footpaths.
Open water. Highways.
Can I raise a point on the highways? You know, the bend just before Potman's Heath,
Slows the
which
traffic
is
down.
Wittersham Road,
Slows the traffic.
it's just completely flooded all the time. And
Yeah,
it's dangerous.
I've just been through it 4 times.
Well, yeah, I'm assuming there's still some water left. But something's wrong there. You know,
Yes.
it's in the last 12 years, certainly, it's never flooded like that.
Alf was down
And
there
stayed
busy
there.
earlier in the week, or at the end of last week.
Because I was going to ask him to.
He's
Jane-
done a good job on the drains a bit further down. And I mean, I think I know what the problem is where Paul is, because what happens is there's a big puddle,
Yeah.
and it flows across the
With the
road
dew pond.
onto the other side of the road.
Yeah.
And previously, the ditch between there and there's a little pond on the left just around the corner.
Yeah.
And previously, that ditch was patent, so if the ditch between the pond on the road and the pond on the corner was dug out, it would flow away. nobody's had yet the wherewithal to go and do that. Although I have been viewing it with my spade, but I'm a busy man.
If
It's a day-
it's on the highway and causing danger, as in people are driving on the wrong side of the road to get round there, is that not something that we can
Well,
report
I was
to
gonna-
highways?
Now that Alan, you said that I've been down that, I was going to ask him to go down and have a look and see what he thought.
I mean, I have sniffed around, but is it my role? It's certainly not my responsibility. It would be good exercise for a whole day.
Whose field is it adjoining that ditch?
Whose field is it? It belongs to Margaret Rye. But she's on the other side of the road, and she's got a little pond in her field. Just
I think the Highways Act
behind
is it's the field owner's job to keep the ditch open and then they
Well,
will use it.
I'm not sure.
Right or wrong, I mean,
I
that's
suspect
their-
not, because the ditch is on the outside of the hedge, therefore I think it's probably highways property.
Yeah. I mean, the fact is that it's causing danger.
No, I understand that.
I mean, if a tree fell down-
No, I totally understand.
Is it the landowner or is it highways?
It certainly does cause danger, because if you're going towards us, and then
Yes.
there are various people who like to keep their tyres dry, who drive on the wrong side of the road.
I understand that it could be dangerous, I understand that trees can fall down, and I understand that Kent might go and agitate with the owner. My broad understanding, but this seems to be a very messy area, is that highways will often not own the verge. They'll have rights over the verge for a metre, but not own it. They don't even always own the road, which is highway, and that generally goes with the field.
Maybe we should put speed
And
indicators
it's
in
always
the
it's a kind of
application.
scam, an official scam, but that's the position,
Well,
as I understand.
well,
Can we report it on the site though? That's
Yes,
the thing. Yes.
What I will do in that
Perfectly
case,
reasonable.
bearing in mind what you've said, I will call on Margaret Wright tomorrow.
Yeah,
If I
just
get
ask
time,
him.
I will call her, and depending on the exact circumstances, I might go out there with my spade.
There is precedent. There is precedent. Remember when Rod Stewart got so filled up with potholes,
Yes.
he went out himself.
Yes,
to
this is slightly different. I'm not going to be putting tarmac down.
Just bear in mind, I'll give you a better precedent. There was a problem with the ditch or not. Recollections varied, as someone famous said, but there was a problem with the ditch running down alongside in the street, alongside the big orchard, towards Lee House. And eventually, after Nicholas agitated for months, if not years, KCC got so fed up they came and dug it out. But their position earlier was, we don't care which side of the hedge it is, we don't care that it runs alongside the road, we don't care that our water uses it, it's the orchard's landlord's job. Now, that was a very clear case. They did do it, but only because they were badgered into it.
But the real problem there was it was basically channeling the village's sewage into Nicholas's garden.
Well, that's true as well, and I'm not disputing any of these other points, but you're going off the point, Alan, to be honest. The point is that they do not take responsibility for that bit of land drainage, even though it's draining the road, next to the road, on the wrong side of the hedge, and all the other things people say. But I've never got to the bottom of where the legislation is or anything. It is a really complex area, and KCC have got bigger guns than
Well,
anybody
if somebody just goes in and does it, then
They'll probably be
might
delighted.
might solve the problem.
Exactly.
And I'll have a look.
Get your spade out.
Good for you.
Well, we'll see.
Okay.
I'm not promising anything.
PROWs.
Well,
No.
as we found out last week.
You can tell about the rest of them, right?
They're
They're
very
wet.
wet.
They're wet. They're indeed, yes. We
Well, in the
didn't
tarmac, then
we
you
didn't have a
know,
good time.
No,
Depends whether the tarmac's got dips in it.
wet boots.
Cemetery
I had a
churchyard.
complaint from, not a complaint, I was walking the dog down the lane and the lady who lives down Acton Lane opposite the old granary, can't remember the house now, she said that the public footpath, I can't give you the number of it, but it sort of runs, when you get down to Pound Lane, off to
Opposite
the right,
there.
opposite there, it goes into
That's,
the woods and through
it's
to
one
the
of
village.
it's one of the footpaths that I'm going to give the Walkers the option of walking tomorrow.
Ah,
What's the...
right. Well, certainly she said there was a stile that was damaged.
Star at the end of it.
Yeah.
Is that the one through the garden?
Um, Yeah, and also there'd been an electric fence put up,
Oh, yes.
which was too close to the footpath, really, because you couldn't really walk down the footpath with a dog and not.
Well, we had an altercation with the owner last time we went down there, so we'll be ready for it. It's her fault. She was chopping his trees.
Anyway, so I think I'd bring it up. I haven't had a chance to, or quite honestly, the will to investigate.
Well, if we do go that way, we'll see whether it's
tin snips. No, I don't mean you.
No.
insulated pliers you need to bring
Yes.
with you.
Yes.
Right, PROW's then done, I think. They're wet. Cemetery and churchyard.
Wet.
Wet?
But
Yeah.
Monday. Wet.
Wet and wet, okay. Reports for noting from representatives on outside bodies. The CALC meeting was last
I
week.
moved all that. I moved all that concrete today.
You've moved it.
Yeah.
Who's Alan?
Alan's just said he's moved all the stones in the...
Well, you remember the
I haven't
when
been
you
down
went but round the back and the other well, two things happened actually. Now, I will report this to the Parish Council. On Sunday, the toilet block had been vandalised. And it was somebody either with very drunk or somebody, it was either wanton vandalism or distracted behaviour, because they'd taken all the paper towels and they'd stuffed large quantities of them down the kludgy, and then for some reason there was a large supply of rubber gloves in there as well, and they'd taken every single one out. They'd shredded quite a lot, presumably with a pair of scissors, and they were scattered up the walls and on the floor. And then the rest of them, several hundred, they'd stuff those down the bowl. It must have taken quite a long time to do it. You know, it was a bit of a mission. If you see what I mean? Because it was an awful mess.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I mean, I got there, and clearly, you look around you when you're church warden, and there's nobody else coming to have a go. So I went down there and I put my hand down their spend, and fortunately, perhaps generously, there was no sign of an evacuation as such. So I just put my hand around the edge, fished it all out, and cleaned up. But so now the toilet block is going to be locked, except on a Sunday and a Wednesday for the walkers.
Thank you, Alan.
So Vince is going to lock it at close of play. That's subject to the problem I have is that when Mike Hill kindly gave us a grant in 2012 to refurbish the toilet block, the deal was that it would stay open for the village. But I've sort of at the moment overruled that decision, pending ratification by the PCC. At the same time, there was a large dump of concrete chips and blocks and things which have all been now removed.
That's fly tipping, do you mean?
They were a well-meaning former office bearer at the church had decided they should be kept for some useful function.
Right.
And so they were stacked up against the wall, which the architects, if the architects see that sort of thing, they go pale because it causes rising damp and stuff, you know. So anyway, it's now all gone.
Good.
Well done. Can I say, on
Yeah,
the toilet
yeah.
block, given that it was refurbished, is there a way of making it available to others who use the church apart from the walkers?
Well, on the Wednesday, if you want to go and have a wee, you can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just thinking that once a week is beyond my head.
I mean, with a bit of bladder toning and practice, you could probably. Well,
So there's a new village class to be set up.
so, unfortunately, between Sunday and Wednesday and Sunday, you're on your own.
Are there other groups using the church? For example, the bell ringers tonight.
Well, the bell ringers were going to have to cross their legs. The school might have a problem on a Monday, so that's under review.
Yeah.
That's under review.
I do know there's one particular lady who walks across the fields regularly, daily, and uses that toilet.
Well, tell her on a
Not,
Wednesday.
not necessarily to go to the toilet, but while she's walking.
Well, do tell her on a Wednesday. She's fine.
I think there could be a problem.
Well,
She may well be complaining.
It's going to be on the PCC agenda next time around. But in the interim, I decided that almost certainly, if I left it unlocked, our miscreant would return.
Yeah.
Could we not have a key safe somewhere?
That's what
Yes,
I
we
was
could.
thinking.
I think that's probably.
But then the trouble is, we never really know what the key safe is. We've got no security anyway.
Well, if we make the number, I mean, it strikes me.
So
what you said. This is someone who has a mental health challenge, should we say?
I think so, yes.
Rather than kids, because they wouldn't be that fastidious.
It took time to do it.
Yeah, yeah. This sounds like someone who.
I mean, it probably took them longer to create it than it did
Yeah.
to clear it up.
And maybe the key safe could be inside the church by the library section or the kitchen or something. So if someone was actually using it, but I don't know.
It's a thought, but I suspect it's doomed to failure, that particular aspect of the toilet.
Yeah.
And of course the church is open
Would have been very
he would
useful.
go to
Well, you're clearly not the woman walking across the field then.
Well, I am walking across the fields
With
daily, but
not
I
with
didn't know
them.
the toilet was there. No.
But I mean, the PCC will look at this accurately at the next meeting.
I'm sure.
Will it not?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for that
That's right.
report.
Coin-operated knock on the door fundraiser. Coin-operated.
Yes. Yeah, don't go out with a bent penny.
Of course, spending a penny anyway.
Yes.
50p now.
Yeah.
Or I think a key code would be better, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
A key code on the door. So that, you know, I mean, if we had if you, for instance, it was, I think just a key code with the numbers of the postcode 307 would probably deter people who wanted to do that sort of thing.
If you just said it on.
Yes, then I don't have to use that. I could do, but I mean, people will forget it anyway. I mean, that's the code, for instance, that's on other things around about.
Yes,
that I
yes,
know.
yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
yes, yes.
And they're still there.
All right, 6 chips. Okay, let's move on. The representatives on the outside bodies, we had the count meeting on the 4th of January last Wednesday. The notes have gone out. The only things to pick out for the record, particularly, I don't think we'll talk about the Standards Committee, that's in the weeds. I'm meeting the Chief Executive on behalf of CALC, Chief Executive of Ashford, in a couple of weeks' time. She's asked to have that meeting. We'll see what happens. I'll have a few things to talk to her about. She obviously has something to talk to me about. The Ashford Police, or Kent Police if you like, Ashford, they have now appointed their new Chief Inspector, who's the Borough Commander. It is Sarah Rivet, Chief Inspector Sarah Rivet. She came along with the head of the Community Safety Unit, Detective Inspector Simon Johnson, and they gave us a report between them. But anyway, Sarah, she'd been in the job about 2 weeks when she came. She has replaced the chap who we had before, who was ex-firearms unit boss, and he has now been promoted to superintendent and is now in charge of the control room.
He was quite impressive, I thought.
Which is impressive.
He was.
Oh, he was, yeah, he was indeed. We'll wait and see how we get on with Sarah, but she's come, and she's been encouraged to come each time. And I think the general tenor in Kent Police is, they don't all do it, but pushing them in that direction of taking more interest in local councils.
Can I ask a point on that? Because I think it's relevant. I feel that what's missing here is there's no report from an outside body called Kent Police, and there wasn't at the last meeting, and I don't think there's one at the previous meeting.
Oh dear, yes.
We've got considerable concerns being raised about antisocial behaviour, also the increased theft of catalytic converters, up Lloyd's Green, Jubilee. I mean, you know, there is just no notable police presence at all anymore. I know the lady who grew up in the village, and I can't remember her name now, who was on long-term sick, was replaced by, is it Ollie or son of Ollie? Or the young chap?
Kate still. Ollie only came to the meeting.
Okay, but there was another person who replaced him, wasn't there? He had a chap.
Are they? Well,
No, with Kate Richards, as far as I know, is still our PCSO.
Well, we
She was
have,
on long-term sick.
it has been still.
Yes.
So the point is, she had somebody she was training as well. But the point is, we've had no visible presence. We have an increased incidence of crime in the village, and we've had a few nights ago on Poplar Road, a car had its catalytic converter removed. You know, and that's expensive to replace.
Sure.
And a number of people have said there's just no police anymore. Forget it.
Yeah.
All right, and the fact that they haven't bothered, put it bluntly, to even send a note to us, because
Yeah.
they always used to send a note,
Yeah.
even if they weren't here. And I'm delighted that Sarah Rivet has got this new position. She's clearly 2 or 3 weeks in post, but she hasn't joined the police as a chief inspector. She's got a lot of experience, and I think we have to find a way of reminding Kent Police. It's all about us going to the meetings and Callum saying this with respect, but it's not helping the residents in the village.
All of that is
So
true.
what do we
All of
do
that is
as a
true
parish
far as-
council?
All of that is true as far as it goes. We were doing very well. I mean, I hear from the whole of Kent at the Calc area meetings when we all come together in Kent. We used to do better than others in Ashford, and certainly better than some other boroughs. They varied, there was different lines. Now, what happened about 9 months ago, maybe a year, was that a new policy came down from on high in Kent at Assistant Chief Constable level, saying that parish councils should get either a visit or a written report at least every quarter. That we haven't got now since Ollie last came, and just before the meeting started, talking to Yvonne, she is going to question what's gone on there, because we are supposed to have it at least every quarter. We used to have it most months, as we know, which was very good.
that's right.
But they've actually, I think reading this all ways round, there was, and we hear about it as well when I go to the meeting with the PCC, the Police and Crime Commissioner and the ACC. They started to take the view that they were spending too much time at local councils, because it depends on which shift they've got and all the rest of it. And if you think of Kate, she was dealing with Tenterden plus probably another half a dozen or 10 villages. It was just untenable, keep going around all the meetings. So they've said no, once a quarter. We were given a choice of what we wanted, and we said that that's what we wanted. We wanted to have a visit, and we haven't had it. But clearly they have been moving very slowly lately in reorganising the whole of local policing. That's the next point to make, that they still haven't released what their new scheme is. The reason being, they're making a lot of this, but they say that the official consultation period with employees is still going on. And this has been going now for well over a year, that they're reorganising local policing. I mean, it's been a complete, unbelievably slow. They do keep giving us hints, tips, whatever, that there will still be some PCSOs, but less. And they will have warranted officers in the CSUs, which they didn't before, or not in the same way. So we will get the benefit of more warranted officers and less CSUs. But the overall total, bearing in mind that they're always short of money, I can't tell you. So the point that Paul makes isn't wrong, but that's the extra.
So if I phone up Sarah, what's her name?
Rivet.
Sarah Rivet tomorrow and ask her what her views are on the increased crime and theft in Wittersham, she's going to say to me, I know nothing about it.
You probably have difficulty getting them, but I mean that's.
Well, no, that's not the point. I mean, I think
the
as
person who oversees that is
representative.
her inspector.
Yeah,
Eli Simon Johnson is the person
Okay,
who's
well,
directly responsible for.
I'd
the
like
villages.
us to formally write
Mhm.
on behalf of the residents to the police, whoever you think is the person that can actually bring about change, and say that we are dissatisfied with the level of attention. We have an increased incidence of crime. Residents are having, specifically mentioned catalytic converters. It's one of those things because it's a high value item, which actually does get the attention of the police, and say that we are dissatisfied and we'd like our concerns to be addressed as a matter of priority.
All right. Can I ask two things then? One is.
Well, can I ask all the councillors? What? It's not me. What does everyone else think?
Yes.
Alan? Is that,
But you,
Go on, Colin.
yeah, I agree. I think they should be alerted.
Can I ask two things? One is that before we do that, and I don't know who's going to do it, it would be useful to find out that these crimes have actually been reported, because there is a tendency that people don't bother, and a crime that isn't reported didn't exist.
Is trashing the church toilet a crime?
If you wanted, absolutely.
Yes.
well, I would have thought if you
Yeah.
claim
But I'm
on the
talking about-
insurance it
But I'm
is,
talking
Yes.
about
you need a crime number.
I'm talking about Catholic converted mostly, but I take your point.
Mm.
So it would be handy to know before we go on about all these crimes that they can't turn around and say, well, actually, we haven't had anything reported in Wittersham for 3 months. And secondly, I think if you'd like to draft something, Paul, that's fine.
Well, I think the first thing first is that we put a reminder out from the parish council to the residents, and I suggest we do it on next door, to say as a reminder, if you do have something stolen, please don't expect the police to take any action, or you'll find the right words, unless it's reported. And I think it's a very fair comment.
I think they are. I get the impression from the stuff that I get via the Neighbourhood Watch that these things are being
Well, Martin's come
reported.
back and posted that it has been reported. You see, I
Yeah.
was connecting
Yes.
the dots.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we've got it's like being in the middle of a jigsaw puzzle competition where not all the parts are there and no one's got the picture of the final
No,
thing.
that's right.
But it is tied up with the police. It all, the Neighbourhood Watch and things.
Exactly.
It's not just.
No, exactly.
So they do.
So they should
about
know.
all these
But
things, yes.
that then comes back to us saying, well, if they know and they know and they know and they know and it's been reported, etc.,
Yeah.
and nothing's being done. The other thing is there's such a thing as policing intelligence, which is not reacting to a reported crime. And in fact, the Rural Crime Unit are the best example in terms of proactive policing. And I just think that if occasionally we could persuade one or two of the remaining patrol cars in Kent to drive up Jubilee or Lloyd's Green or what have you, because criminals are effectively lazy. And so if the word gets round or they're seen, at least it would also reassure residents that someone somewhere cares about them. But at the moment, it's just it's just a mess. So I'm happy to
Last
help
thing
you
that-
draft
yeah.
it, but I think the sequence of events is that it's clearly being reported, otherwise Martin wouldn't know about it.
Well, the last thing I
Secondly,
saw
we go
from
out to
him
the
was
residents
weeks
just to
ago.
ask them to just remind them that they should report it. And then on the strength of that, we can say, look, we've done this, we're aware it's been reported because Neighbourhood Watch have advised us. Plus we've gone out to the residents, we need reassurance as a community that the police are proactively doing something about it.
As far as the catalyzer, let's just focus on catalyzers. Paul said there was one done only in the last day or two, which obviously will take time to work through the system. The last thing I saw from Martin Chambers on Neighbourhood Watch, which came out on Nextdoor, was, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I don't think it was a catalytic converter, but maybe you've had more recent things come to you directly.
Possibly.
Something 4 days ago from Martin on Neighbourhood Watch. Or
Yes,
next
that was
door,
it,
sorry.
it's next, yes,
On
it's
next
next
door.
door. And he picks up these things because I'm getting the same things as he is.
It
And
comes
I
through
don't
very
do it
differently.
back
I don't
because
get
he
them.
comes, because he does it.
If you get them all, that's fine.
But they do come, as you say, they do come in odd ways.
Well, it's entirely reasonable that, having made sure that they are reported to the police, that we question whether they're doing what we would like to see them do about it. There's no problems with that at all. I think it'll be G.I. Johnson because he's CSU. The Chief Inspector is covering the 999 calls and all that side as well.
Could we invite D.I. Johnson to the next annual parish meeting? I mean, it's in, what, 3 or 4 months' time? April? And I suggest we put him at the top of the guest
No
list.
reason we don't. He might be quite pleased to come. It would be useful then if we get a reasonable turnout rather than find he comes. It would be reasonable. It would be good to get a reasonable turnout rather than find he comes and talks to 2 people.
Well, I'm sure we could spread the word he's coming to answer residents' questions on recent thefts.
Yeah. And then he
We're getting the attendance.
And then he finds he's on operational duties somewhere else. Okay, we'll go off police. The planning portal is still an issue. It moves along slowly. There's a lot of concern about enforcement at CALC, and that's one of the things that I have to take up with the Chief Executive when I see her on behalf of CALC. There's an idea that has been put forward and was supported in this meeting by one of the councillors from Kingsnorth, that we would like to see an addition to the new local plan when it's revised, which will put, you know all about this, I think, a greater emphasis on trees. The concern is that planning applications get through on planning policy in places that can then, if not damage trees immediately, damage them in 10 or 20 years time when the trees have grown. And if they are important specimens like, you know, middle-sized oaks or something, you don't want them to get bigger and then find that they get chopped down because the insurance company says they have to be. So that is being proposed. Apart from that, I forgot to bring it last month. That's the Land Mapping Commission final report. I said it was produced very nicely by Ashford Borough Council's in-house reprographics. I think you passed on the PDF.
I have a copy, and I did
You've
ask
got
councillors.
one,
I sent on the PDF, and I also said if anybody wants to see the actual hard copy, I had one.
Yeah, we've got two, one for each of us. And that's, I've only got one because I snatched it at the final meeting. New council training is an idea that's been put forward, where CALC will offer training, if you call it training, familiarisation or something, to people who think they might want to be councillors in May when the election comes, and they could go on a little Zoom session to find out what it's like.
And I have already
And I've done that as
information
well.
on that to councillors, and I should put something on next go.
And lastly, I think one for Leslie, particularly the Climate Change Committee. You went on it, didn't you? Yeah. And there was a report
I saw
back
your
on that. I gathered it
email,
went
Jeremy. I will look through it properly. I'm a bit distracted, so I hope to get back to normal soon.
Okay, but it happened, and people seem to have been that were there, were happy with it.
Yeah.
Last thing is ACRK, Action on Communities in rural Kent. Some people in this room know a lot more about it than I do. It has packed in after almost 100 years, 99 and a bit years, I think. I've organised a meeting tomorrow afternoon at Ashford, which the chairman, Richard King, who you both know, Mick as vice chairman, Charmaine as chief executive of CALC, and myself will attend to just try and figure out whether there are things that we should be doing, bringing together, and I took this on having been stimulated within Ashford Committee of CALC. It seems to me that we knew it had happened and nothing else seemed to be happening. Of course, Christmas and New Year came at an unfortunate time, but time is going by. So I did have a conversation with a leading member of the Ashford Committee, a very well connected leading member, who said, what's happening? And I thought, well, I don't know, I will try and get something to happen. And I got hold of Richard, it took a couple of weeks over Christmas, and then Charmaine, and we agreed we'd meet, and Richard said, well, we should have Nick as well because he's vice chairman. And we will see what, if anything, emerges tomorrow. My own view at this point, and I've expressed this at CALC and to Charmaine and to Richard, is that I think that it would be a great disservice to the rural community if ACRK disappears without trace. It's obviously disappeared as it was because it's been closed. And it's been closed because it ran out of money. But in my mind, ACRK 2023, as I call it, should arise in some form, ideally limited liability and new structure or whatever, I don't know. But I'm loath to see the bits that it did either disappear completely or all disappear in different directions. Because I think the coherence of it was that they could do several things with the same team. and that if one person was out, another one could answer the phone or whatever, you know, just simple things like that. I'm hoping that we can stimulate KCC to be a bit more interested, but at the moment we know that they're not. I think personally that if ACRK didn't exist, KCC and the boroughs and districts would all miss it, because it does do useful things. But thinking that and getting it are two different things. So we'll see how we get on tomorrow. But
Thank you.
Jeremy, thank you very much. Just a point of information, you might or might not know that your representative, as a CALC's representative, is seriously unwell.
I knew that.
And Ron Butcher, and he's unable to make meetings at the moment, but he is the CALC appointed representative.
Indeed, and Charmaine, the chief executive, is, I mean, I'm not saying about the detail of what you just said, I don't know, but she's obviously on top of that.
Good.
They know when it went down that the first thing they did was to look at what they thought was their own liabilities. I am hopeful, optimistic may be too strong, but I'm hopeful that Kent County Council can still get dragged into it, because there are some
Well, if you
there
can
are
grab them
some
into it,
things they have written which do put them a little bit more in the frame than they like to believe.
Yeah.
And I've shared
that's
that
much
with Richard.
appreciated.
I've shared that with Richard. I think that as always with these things, I think they've been a little bit unwise in their public statements if they wish later to feel that it's nothing to do with them. But there you go. Okay, that's CALC. So then it's we're meeting the usual time in February, and now items for information. What do you have?
I don't have
Alan? Sue?
No.
Colin?
No, thank you.
Leslie? Paul?
Just to remind everyone that we have the vision meeting at Leslie's next Tuesday, the 17th, at 17th of January at 6 o'clock. And I think,
How long do you estimate it would last, Leslie?
well, it's a vision meeting, so
Forever.
If we stay away from the sports
You'd
field,
have to be able to see ahead to know that.
yes. Jeremy's got 30 seconds at the beginning of the meeting to update us on the new sports field contract, treaty, agreement, or have you, and I think we should devote our time to other matters, if that's okay. On that note, if anyone can't find the original vision meeting checklist, let me know and I'll send it to you again.
I get the message, you send it round to everybody.
I think
So, is
You have to send it again anyhow, is that what you're
yes,
saying?
definitely.
well, I can see Sue's waiting to have it.
Could you send it again anyway?
it. Yeah.
Yes,
As I said, I think you
Yes.
should.
From the left wing of the party.
Yes, yeah.
But it just brings it to the fore. I mean, even when we've got it, it's trying to find these things. I
Yeah.
find you can find it.
Yeah.
It's the time taken.
Yes.
Yeah.
Paul sends it. It's there.
You've spotted my initial challenge, clearly.
Yeah.
There's yesterday,
You know, she's not going to sleep tonight.
there's yesterday, there's 2 days ago, and then there's history.
Is that what we apply to our revolving prime ministers?
Very much. Okay, that's everything on the agenda. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Make a note.